Hamsopanishad, Hamsa Upanishad. This Upanishad is from the Shukla Yajurveda. It belongs to the Shukla Yajurveda and a very, very profound Upanishad giving Hamsa Vidya, which leads into the Brahma Vidya. Hamsa Vidya leading into the Brahma Vidya. That is the profundity of this wonderful Upanishad. Very succinctly, very easily and very wonderfully presents within the 21 mantras from the Shukla Yajurveda. The Upanishad opens with a discussion between the Gautama and Sanat Kumara. In fact, Gautama Muni raises the question, puts the question, and Sanat Kumara answers it. Gautama Uvacha, it begins with that. The question raised was, Bhagavan, O Gautama, Bhagavan, Sarva Dharmajnaha, Sarva Shastra Visharadaha, Brahma Vidya Prabodhohi, Yenopayena Jayate. Very beautifully he puts it. Sarva Dharmajnaha, Sarva Shastra Visharada, Brahma Vidya Prabodhohi, Yenopayena Jayate. How this awakening, the first rising happens in the Brahman, in the sense, if everything is quiet, calm, serene, without any activity, how the first bubble rises, how the first seed rises. An entire teaching is based on this answer. Vicharya sarvadharmeshu matam jnatva pinakinaha. And the Sanat Kumara keeps replying, Anakheyamidam guhyam yogino koshasannibham hamsasyat kritivistaram bhukti mukti phalapradam. He said the teaching is very secret, very deep. We should also remember in yoga, whenever it is said like secret, guhyam, it doesn't mean it is really secret. It means it needs a very correct, real, true understanding. The correct, true purport out of it. And it needs some guidance from somebody. It requires a guidance. It doesn't mean it is secret. Secret means it needs somebody's guidance. So that is how the Upanishad, the Sanat Kumara, says that Hamsa Sya Kriti Vistaram Bhukti Mukti Phala Pradam. And this needs to be understood carefully. And by understanding it, Bhukti and Mukti, both will be available, both will be there to you, a material and a spiritual benefits. This is the answer given by the Sanat Kumara, and he begins to explain further. Hamsa Vidyadhikari Swarupam, who is fit for it to practice. And he says wonderfully, excellently, who is fit for it? A person who is self-controlled, brahmachari, and who has sincere devotion to the Guru. Brahmacharine dantaya guru bhaktaya hamsa hamseti sada dhyanam. Brahmacharine dantaya. Brahmacharine means a person who is a brahmachari. Dantaya, who has a mass control over the senses, and Guru Bhaktaya, who has a Guru Bhakti. So any person with these qualities, with the practice of brahmacharya and a sense control, and then Guru Bhakti, will understand this knowledge. So without this you cannot understand, means that is the secret there. The secrecy is, without this you cannot understand it. And if you have this, it is no more a secret. And the Upanishad puts it very nicely, that this Hamsaha सर्वेषु देहेषु व्याप्य वर्तते यथा अग्निः काष्ठेषु तिलेषु तैलविमा तं विदित्वा न मृत्युमेति. Hamsa Swarupaha, it is called. The fifth mantra of the Hamsopanishad is a very clear expression that the Hamsa is inhalation and exhalation, and it is based dependent on the breathing. That is, what is dependent on Puraka and Rechaka, and that dependent nature, that dependent being is the Hamsaha, is the object, is the power, which is the Jiva. So Jiva is dependent, Jiva is travels, Jiva moves, Jiva uses inhalations and exhalations. And this Jiva is the Hamsaha. A beautiful imagery it is. A beautiful suggestion is given. An excellent thought for pondering over. And an imagery is given is like fire stands pervading the fuel, the oil stands pervading in the tila, taila in tila, agni in the kashtha, as it is there. Hamsaha is there everywhere, and as the tila and the kashtha are the medium for the oil and fire, inhalation and exhalation is the medium for the Jiva, Hamsaha. A very nice object for meditation. Like fire is seen or innervated and pervaded in the wood, like oil is pervaded, inherent in the seed. Tila seed, tila is the sesame. Similarly, Hamsa is pervaded, as oil is in the seed, fire in the wood, Hamsa, the Jiva in the inhalations and exhalations. There is an inseparable relationship. It is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, and transactions will be going on. Then how to practice Hamsa Jnana Upaya Yoga? It is Upaya Yoga, it is Upayoga, it is. And what is the technique given? The Hamsopanishad presses beautifully. Pressing the anus with the left heel, Gudam Avashtabhyadharat Muthapya Swadhishthanam Trih Pradakshini Kritya Manipurakam Gatva Anahatamiti Kritva Shishnabhe Parshve Bhavataha. A beautiful description is given. Press the left heel against the anus and sit in that position, sitting position. and fill the prana through the nostrils or through the mouth. Both suggestions are there. Even to the mouth or through the nostrils. And hold the breath. Constrict your anus. It is something like an Ashwini Mudra practiced in Antara Kumbhaka in a sitting posture. Then it is not imagination. Allow your prana to move upwards, which can be done with our willpower, or you can even feel that and experience it, recognize it when it is happening, moving from the Mooladhara, then entering into the Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Ajna. And the Hamsa Upanishad gives wonderful imagery, objects of meditation. And these are all commonly known as the chakras, but actually they are the energy points, where various nadis come to a junction and the prana flows. And in that, various lotus petals have been presented, the number of petals, and then the movement of the prana through that. A nice thought and object for meditation. And then the Hamsopanishad keeps on describing what will happen in the Hridaya, where there are 8 petaled lotus is there, and these 8 petals are directed towards the 8 directions, Ashta Dala to Ashta Dik. 8 petals directing towards the 8 directions. And the prana moves in that. What are the effects will be happening? What will be the behavioral pattern? How wonderful it is. The normal common behavioral pattern of ourselves is being related to the movement of the prana into these petals. The external is linked to the internal, and the external is linked to the internal through the prana. And the Upanishad keeps describing excellently that the Hamsa, the Jiva, if it moves towards the eastern petal, east side of the petal, eastern direction, a person will be interested in the religious, dharmics, religious activities. If the Hamsa and the Prana enters into the southeastern pattern, that is the Agni, the behavior will be mostly sleepy, docile, laziness. And if it is in the southern petal of the Yama, then it will be a cruel nature, all cruelty, krura bhavas, cruelties. When the Jiva, when the Hamsa enters into the southwestern petal, that is the Nirutti, he will be prone for intellectual, but for the sinful actions. Intellect for the sinful actions. When the Hamsa, Jiva, enters into the western petal of the Varuna, the disposition is pastime, just passing time, wasting the time. When the entry is in the northwestern petal of the Vayu, the intellect is towards the goodness. When the entry is in the northern petal of the moon, the Chandraha, it comes in the gratification resulting from intense application. When entry is in the northeastern petal, that the Ishanaha, the productivity is to acquire material wealth. And if the entry, the Hamsaha, the Pranaha, is into the filaments of the lotus, the state of awakening, that is the result. When the entry is in the pericarp, the state of the dreaming, that is the beautiful explanation is given into it. Pericarp means Karnika of the lotus. And if the prana jiva enters into the interior tubes of the lotus, the state of sleep comes. And finally, when the prana rises above these, it enters into the state of the turiya. What does all this imagery, all these explanations of the Upanishad suggest simply is that as long as the prana is, as long as the breathing is confined only to the physical levels and the nature, and if the prana shakti is used only for the physical and the sensual activities, and if the pranic energy is allowed to be wasted in the activities of the psychophysiological and the breathing activities, we are rooted to our senses and rooted into the tamo level. Then the jiva, the hamsaha, has to cross these lotuses. Then the sight of the turiya comes. And that is the level of the nadaha it is. That is the turiyatitaha is beyond that. And thereafter, from the mooladharaha into the sushumnaha, the paramatmaha level is the exposed. This is how the Hamsa Upanishad presents an excellent imagery, a technique, a very subtle methods. Whenever our behavior and activities are in a particular direction, in a particularly centered, the suggestion given in the Upanishad is that particular focusing and centering activities and the behavior and the thinking is because of this particular region, that the prana and the jiva are focused in this particular direction of the lotus petals. Changing it is the important dimension. And how do we change it? Hamsopanishad presents again Ajapa Hamsa Mantra Japa Prakaraha. Practice Japa Prakaraha. The method of the Japa, practicing of Ajapa Hamsa Mantra. Ajapa Hamsa Mantra technique. Ata Hamsaha Rishihi Avyakta Gayatri Chandaha Paramahamso Devata Ham Bijam Sashakti Soham Kilakam Shat Sankhya Ahoratraye Reka Eka Vimshati Sahasrani Shatchatanta Dhikani Bhavanti Suryaya Somaya Niranjanaya Nirabhasaya Anusukshma Prachodayaditi Agni Shomayam Vaishad Hridayashta Angaha सकारन्यासो भवतः एष एवं कृत्वा हृदये हंसयात्मानं ध्यायेत्. Beautiful suggestion has been given for the practice of the Ajapa Hamsa Mantra Japa method. It is just a feeling and experience of whole mind is focused and concentrated and meditated just on these happenings, the most subtlest sensations in the body, samvedana. And these sensations and samvedana are at the cell level, not just at a physical, gross, muscular level. And that is the level of the practice of the Ajapa Hamsa Mantraha. Ajapa Hamsa Mantraha is the sensations of inhalation and exhalation and the pranic movements and exchanges deep at the Kana cell level it is. And that is the highest practice of the Ajapa Hamsa Sadhana, it is called. And that is how the Upanishad further goes on talking. Ajapa Japena Dashanadhanubhavaha. It says that by the practice of the Ajapa Sadhana and the Hamsaha, of course, utilizing of the Ukara, Akara, Makara is given. And then the Upanishad gives an extension of the another aspect of the imagery, that Akara, Ukara, Makara is and the Bindu, the dot which is there. The Rudraha is the face. Rudrani, the Ganga, forms the 2 feet of it on account of the qualified and the non-qualified aspects. The Hamsaha by means emanates from the throat. Means as a human personality, for meditation, for the contemplation, and as a human personality pervaded with the Omkara. That is the imagery is given. Hamsaha, the attained state of the Virajaha. Fire and the moon are the 2 arms. Omkara is the head. The 3 eyes are the Akara, Ukara, Makara. And the Bindu, the dot. Rudra is the face. Rudrani, the 2 feet. And this is how a picturization is presented. With this, Ajapa Upasanhara and Ajapa of the Hamsa is practiced. These are all various suggestions and methods of techniques and the practices given by the Yoga-Upanishads. And this is the Hamsopanishad method is given in that. And then it gives the Nadaha it is. Then another technique is given as the Nada. And the Nada is given as the Hamsanadaha, Anahata Chakraha. And that Nada is produced in 10 different ways. The third imagery presented by the Hamsopanishad, Hamsanadaha, Hamsa Gayatrihi, Hamsa Omkaraha, Hamsa Purushaha, and now it is the Hamsanadaha. And it says that there are 10 different ways, and the right ear of the seeker. The various types of sounds are heard. The first is the character of the Chini sound, Chini. The second is the character of the Chinchini. The third is the sound of a bell, Ghantanadam. The fourth is like of a blast of a Shankhanadam. And the fifth is the Veenanadam. And the sixth is the cymbals. Tala. The seventh is the flute, Venunadam. And the eighth is the Dundubhi. And the ninth is the sound of a Mridanga. And the last, the 10th is Meghanadha. It is called the thunderbolt. Again, very beautiful suggestion. From Megha, if you come down slowly, retrace the path, it comes down to the chin. Chin sound. That is the smallest, subtlest, narrowest sound within the body to the thunder sound. Tracing, listening, following, extending the hearing capacity or expanding the mind stepwise from the smallest, slowest sound to the booming sound, and from the booming Meghanada sound to the smallest sound. This is another technique is given. Tatta nadanubhava phalam. The results are given for that. What is the results? The result is, as the Upanishads keep on presenting, the state of the manolayaha, it is called. The mind merges. In the Brahma Atma Tattva Prakashaha, it is. Tasman mano viline manasigate sankalpa vikalpe dagdhe punya pape sada shiva shakyatma sarvatra visthita swayam jyotihi shuddho buddho nityo niranjanaha shantatamaha prakashayatiti vedanu bhavati iti Upanishad. The manolaya attains. Manolaya, the mind gets dissolved. Hamsa Upanishad, practice of these techniques, the phalam is given. What is the phalam? Tasmat atmano viline manasi gate sankalpa vikalpa dagdhaha. Sankalpa and vikalpas are burned. Punya, papa are lost. And it is always in the Sada Shivaha, in a state of absolute quietness. Shaktya Atma Sarvatra Avasthitaha. It is a powerful potential. Swayam Jyotihi, self-brilliancy and radiance. And what are the guna it is? Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Nityaha, Niranjanaha it is. Shantatamaha, Prakashayati iti Veda Anuvachanam. As expressed in the Vedas, it is Shuddhaha it is. It is Buddhaha it is. It is Nityaha. It is Niranjanaha. It will never get defiled. This is the result, attainment, and the final experience of the techniques presented in the Hamsa Upanishads. Let us conclude here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.